The following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFN coming to you with what will hopefully be a quick and successful review, and today we're going to be taking a look at an exclusive Transformers figure from the Legacy United line that I've been wanting to review for quite some time, and it is the Transformers Legacy United Origin or Origins Wheeljack. Released exclusively at Target stores here in the US. As this figure, while it's the same size as a large deluxe class Transformers figure, it was sold and marketed as a Voyager due to some of the accessory pieces that it comes with. So when the figure first came out earlier in 2024, Origin Wheeljack was one that a lot of Transformers fans and collectors were excited for, but they didn't necessarily think it deserved being sold at Voyager class price tag. But nevertheless, it's been, from what I've seen, a highly sought after Transformers action figure. So yeah, here is Wheeljack inside his box. There's some box art of his alt mode, and you got some artwork of his robot mode here. And what is significant about this particular figure is that this is based on Wheeljack's appearance in the very first episode of the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon, which showed him transforming into the alt mode that he had while he was still living on Cybertron before the Autobots arrived on planet Earth. So Wheeljack ended up being one of 3 Autobots who were given Cybertron and alt modes by Sunbow Productions, the animation company that worked on the original Transformers Generation 1 cartoon back in 1984. The other 2 Autobots were Bumblebee and Jazz, and they've already been given Transformers Origin figures by Hasbro. They are both released as Target store exclusives as well in the buzzworthy Bumblebee line, but it was announced at the end of 2023 that Hasbro's deal with Target to release the exclusive Transformers figures at Target stores or is that the buzzworthy Bumblebee line was coming to an end. So that's why all the exclusive Transformers figures that have been released at Target that tie in with Transformers Legacy, with the Transformers Legacy line, they've been released in direct Transformers Legacy United packaging since the buzzworthy Bumblebee line came to an end. And so yeah, Origin Wheeljack, he's in the same standard packaging that all Voyager class Transformers in the Legacy United line have come packaged in. He's got the half of the picture poster image on this side of the box that features characters such as Thundertron, Energon, Galvatron, on Silverbolt, old from Beast Wars, or is Tasmania Kid, Magnius, and the side of Magmatron that has the purple Gigantosaurus dinosaur head, along with half of Windblade. And I believe the planet up there in the foreground is just a generic moon. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the sides and the front of Wheeljack's box. Coming in here to the back of the box, you've got your product photos. You got Wheeljack in his robot mode and his alt mode, and he transforms in just 32 steps. And if I forgot to say it a moment ago, I apologize for forgetting, and if I said it already, I apologize for saying it again. But one thing that makes Generation 1 Wheeljack's Cybertronian alt mode special is that it's not only the first Cybertronian vehicle mode that we ever saw on animation form on television screens back in 1984, but it is the first ever alt mode that was shown, that a Transformers character was shown transforming into, that was not on the page of a comic book. So this action figure right here, Origin Wheeljack, is an action figure of the first ever transformation of a Transformer to appear on camera. So that's one of the things that makes this special, is that this was the first vehicle mode that any Transformers character ever was shown transforming into. So yes, Wheeljack will forever hold the title of being the first ever Transformers character to actually transform on film. And even though it took 40 years for Transformers fans and collectors to get an action figure of G1 Cybertron alt mode Wheeljack, for Transformers fans and collectors who were alive back in 1984, the 40-year wait was worth it to finally get this action figure here. That said, the robot mode isn't entirely accurate to Wheeljack's on-screen animation model. Basically, the animation models for the Transformers characters, the robot modes were virtually identical no matter what vehicle mode they transformed into, whether it be a Cybertron or Earth-based vehicle mode. So unfortunately, the designers at Hasbro and Takara Tomy, they couldn't quite get the robot modes for the Origin figures that they created entirely accurate. But to be honest, that was one of the things for the Transformers that's historically been one of the paradoxes with Transformers action figures. Is if you look at the designs of them, either the designers at Hasbro and Takara Tomy will either design a superior robot mode with a inferior vehicle mode, or vice versa. And for a lot of the original Transformers Generation 1 action figures, because they were originally designed for Takara Tomy's Diaclone robot line before, and without any possibility of them being featured in an animated cartoon television show, the robot modes for the Generation 1 Transformers characters look nothing like the robot modes that Sunbow Productions designed for them. But that's just nitpicking, about accuracy, which I personally don't really bother with accuracy too much because I'm just thrilled to finally have an action figure of Wheeljack in his Cybertron alt mode. Again, as I said a moment ago, Wheeljack was one of only 3 Autobots to be given a Cybertron alt mode in the G1 cartoon. Well, let me rephrase that. He was one of 3 Autobots who was given both a Cybertronian and an Earth-based vehicle mode, so he changed vehicle modes, basically, or was shown changing vehicle modes in the G1 cartoon. The other 2 characters were, of course, Bumblebee and Jazz, and they've already been given Origin figures, so that was another factor with Transformers Fans and Collectors being excited about this figure getting released, because with the release of Wheeljack, we now have all 3 of the Origin Autobots having been given modern-day action figures. So yeah, it was a really great excitement for Wheeljack's Origin figure to finally get released. And it shows right here on the side of the box that, similar to the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon, you can store Bumblebee onto the back of Wheeljack when they're both transformed into their alt modes. Unfortunately, unlike in the Generation 1 cartoon, in Bumblebee's alt mode, it can't store completely inside the back of Wheeljack. You do have to flip up the side panels for Origin Bumblebee's alt mode to get him to fit inside Wheeljack. And it even shows it there on the product photo that you have to fold up Bumblebee's side panels. And also, it's not entirely a clean transformation, but at least you can mimic the G1 cartoon if you desire to do so. And I will say this right now, if you look closely here on the product photo for the back of Wheeljack's alt mode, he's got some prongs sticking out of the side of him, and those are actually holding brackets for the energon rods that the Origin Bumblebee figure came packaged with. And they were based off the energy rods that Bumblebee and Wheeljack found in the very first scene of the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon. Unfortunately, I don't know where I put the energy rods. So when we get to a size comparison, I unfortunately misplaced all the accessory pieces that my Origin Bumblebee action figure came with. They weren't in the spot that I thought they were. They'll turn up eventually, but I didn't want to waste time finding them for Origin Wheeljack's review, so I apologize, but I won't be able to show off the Wheeljack holding the energon rods on the sides of his vehicle mode. But nevertheless, as I babbled on long enough, so let's hurry up and get this action figure out of the vehicle mode and take a close look at what Wheeljack looks like out of the box. Alright, and so here is Origin Wheeljack out of the box and with all of his accessories attached to him. And he's got his shoulder cannon, and then here on the back he's got these 3 clear purple plastic panels on him. And he can wear them as a shield here on the back. When you get them in the box, they have a gimmick where you can take them off, where the 3 panels clip onto each other, and you can take them off this clip and attach them to this one, and you can make a really long shield. But what this is designed to represent and mimic is the defense shield that Wheeljack put up to protect himself from laser fire from the Decepticons that were blasting at him and Bumblebee. A lot of the hinge joints are really tight because they're almost at a 90-degree angle with the center pan. And also, it's a lot of Transformers fans and collectors said that there was plastic scuffling and stress marks and chipping prying them out of the box for the first time and to be very careful. I was careful also, but I also did get some scratches and chipping, flipping the panels around. So that's one thing to be wary of. Are the shield, or the three purple shield pieces that Wheeljack comes packaged with. It also comes with two more accessory pieces. These were some like defense drills that Wheeljack used to plow his way through the Decepticon line of Decepticons that were blocking him and Bumblebee and stopping them from getting back to Iacon. So it's nice that they included the accessories that Wheeljack was shown using when he transformed into his Cybertron alt mode. So yeah, that's again the vehicle mode itself is what this version of Wheeljack has going for it most. Apart from that, it's a pretty standard Wheeljack action figure. The entire roof and back section of the vehicle mode, it ends up just hanging off the back of Wheeljack, but then that's true for all three of the Transformers Origin figures, that a lot of the vehicle mode kibble to make the robot modes as accurate as possible. Parts of the vehicle mode end up being kibble in robot mode. For articulation, it's pretty standard. Head's on a ball joint, so Wheeljack can turn left and right 360 degrees. He can look slightly up and down. Universal jointed shoulders, so the arms have the potential to spin 360 degrees forwards and backwards. Swivel joint in the bicep. Hinged elbows. Rotating swivel joints in the wrist, so the hands can spin clockwise and counterclockwise 360 degrees. Same thing with the swivel joint in the waist. Universal jointed hips, so legs can go forward this far. If you can get Wheeljack's backpack out of the way as much as possible, the legs have the potential to go much higher than that, but again, the backpack's so enormous it limits the leg articulation from being fully adjusted. One minor gripe that I have with this figure that I wish the designers at Hasbro and Qatar Tomy would have spent more time doing is designing stronger clips to keep the backpack from falling off. Swivel jointed thighs, hinged knees, and you have ankle rockers since the feet are attached on ball joints. So yeah, pretty standard articulation for a Wheeljack action figure and for most Voyager and Deluxe class Transformers figures. And speaking of which, it's again because he has the shield and all his other accessories. This is one of the reasons why this figure was marketed and sold as a Voyager class Transformers figure instead of a Deluxe. For a size comparison, here he is next to the Transformers Legacy Autobot Stand 5-pack Wheeljack figure, which is a repaint of Earthrise Wheeljack done entirely in solid opaque plastic. So again, Origin Wheeljack, he's the exact same height as Deluxe class Transformers figures, but he's slightly bulkier, and he comes with the accessory pieces, so he's a Deluxe figure that was sold at Voyager class price tag if you want to be critical about it, but some Transformers fans and collectors have said that because of his added bulk, because of his vehicle mode and the accessory pieces, that the Voyager class price tag was warranted, but that's been a much smaller number of Transformers fans and collectors that have said that the Voyager class price was justified versus ones that didn't and said that this is actually a Deluxe that was overpriced and sold as a Voyager when it could have been sold as a Deluxe figure. Me personally, I tend to agree with the fans that say that this should have been a Deluxe class figure. It would have probably sold even more than it did. It being sold and marketed as a Voyager class figure, because comparing Origin Wheeljack here with Earthrise / Legacy Earth mode Wheeljack, the fact that in robot mode they're the exact same size, if you want to acknowledge the fact that this figure is in fact a Voyager class Transformers figure, it's now Origin Wheeljack unfortunately is one of the smallest and shortest Voyager class Transformers figures that's ever been released, since it's the same size as most Deluxe class Transformers figures. But overall, I'm really pleased with how the design came out. The paint layout for both these figures is very similar, and I love how even though the chests are different, you can tell that these are both action figures of Wheeljack and not any other Transformers character. A minor nitpick is I wish they would have made the back wings for Wheeljack's robot mode just slightly bigger. Some people said that the back wings for Earthrise Wheeljack were too short, and they are surprise, they are even smaller on Origin Wheeljack. So whether or not we'll get a Wheeljack action figure that has the same large wings that the Generation 1 Wheeljack action figure came with is uncertain at this point. But yeah, there is Origin Wheeljack in his robot mode. And for one last special size comparison before we move on to Wheeljack's vehicle mode, here he is next to his fellow Transformers Origin or Origins Autobots. We got Origins Bumblebee, who was released during the Transformers Kingdom line back in 2021, and we got Origins Jazz, who I believe was released during, I think he might have been released last year in 2023 during Legacy Evolution. He could have been released the year before, but I apologize for not remembering before I started recording the review. But yes, with the release of Wheeljack, we have all three of the Autobots who had both a Cybertron and Earth vehicle mode in the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon. And it was the alt modes for these three Autobots, Jazz, Wheeljack, and Bumblebee, that showed the types of vehicles that the Autobots transformed into, which on Cybertron were different types of hovercraft or hover cars. Unlike the Decepticons, such as the Seekers, who transformed into Tetrajets, or Soundwave, who transformed into a lamppost. But yes, it's really nice to finally have Wheeljack here to complete the trio of Origin Autobots here alongside Bumblebee and Jazz. And so without further delay, let's get Wheeljack transformed into his alt mode and wrap up the review. Alright, and so here is Origin Wheeljack out of the box and transformed into his vehicle mode with none of his accessory pieces attached. And I do admit I enjoy how fairly accurate it is to his appearance in the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon by Sunbow Productions. They even got the side windows here. They are clear plastic. I wish they would have just done silver plastic. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting vehicle mode. It is very bulky. It is larger than Origin Bumblebee and Origin Jazz. But one thing to note about Origin Wheeljack, at some panels they might not line up properly, but if you go in and try to either squeeze them together or try and clip them sturdier, Wheeljack is, I don't know how well you can see it in there, probably can't see it that much through the windows, but if I open this panel up, if you look inside, Wheeljack is entirely hollowed out on the inside of his vehicle mode to incorporate the gimmick of Bumblebee being able to store inside of him. So it is a bunch of panels that are lined up with basically an empty chamber inside. I don't know how you can see inside the windows. My camera's not picking it up that well. Also, Wheeljack can unfortunately be a bit of a floppy mess in alt mode. Just because of the gimmick with Bumblebee being stored in the back. But apart from that, I'm really thrilled with how just how incredible looking the vehicle mode is. And again, as I said it earlier, this is what the selling point for this figure is that it's Wheeljack's Cybertronian alt mode from the Generation 1 cartoon, and this is the first vehicle mode of any Transformer in the entire Transformers franchise to appear on film, so that's what makes this Wheeljack action figure special. For storage space, he's got the two drills, which just like in the G1 cartoon, and I love that the designers are able to pull this off. The drills do come out of the base of his bumper section there, so Wheeljack can drill his way through Decepticon lines. For his shoulder cannon, which unfortunately I thought it was silver plastic, but it's actually clear plastic with silver paint. It shows on his instruction sheets and the photo on the box that you're supposed to just plug it up here on the roof of his alt mode, and that's if you want to incorporate the gimmick of being able to store Bumblebee inside of him. If you don't want to store Bumblebee inside Origin Wheeljack, he does have a 5mm post on the inside of his alt mode, so his laser gun it can store or on the inside of his vehicle mode if you're inclined to do so. One thing to note is that one thing to note about Bumblebee is that his robot mode chest, it rotates back, and these two clear plastic panel sections right there that hold it in place when he's in robot mode. That's basically the wheels for Wheeljack's alt mode. So this, in my opinion, is the only gripe to be had with Origin Wheeljack, is that there's potential for his chest panel to get damaged over time. And so, if there's one part of this figure that I wish they would have done in solid plastic instead of clear plastic, it would have been the robot mode chest windshield. I wish that would have been done in solid plastic, especially since if you display the figure in vehicle mode, then the chest panels is what's going to hold up the weight for the vehicle mode. So that's just one thing to be wary of. And then, of course, one more thing you can do, you can bring the shield section. It does stay in place very securely, and I love that it's clear so you can see what's on the inside. Bumblebee and Wheeljack were attacked by a group of Decepticons fairly quickly on their way back to Iacon, so Wheeljack actually had his shield raised when he was in his vehicle mode. Most of the time he was on screen, so this is actually what he looked like most of the time. It was actually only a few seconds in the G1 cartoon where he was shown without the shield raised up. But yeah, I love how the windshield can detach and reattach fairly easily to Bumblebee's vehicle mode. And yeah, I'm really just thrilled with how accurate it is to his appearance in the G1 cartoon. My apologies for that brief pause. So for a size comparison, here is Origin Wheeljack next to Legacy Earthrise Wheeljack, and it's here in vehicle mode when all the panel sections Wheeljack had folded up on the backs of his legs, his arms, and even his backpack. When they open up and the panels all form out into the vehicle mode, now you can see the size difference here. So yeah, I can see why he did sell at the Voyager class price tag, because even if he didn't have the shield, he is just so much larger and bulkier vehicle mode compared to Earthrise / Legacy Earth mode Wheeljack. So yeah, I can now see the Voyager class price tag that was thrown onto this figure here just because of the sheer size of how enormous he is. I mean, in robot mode they were the same height, right? But in vehicle mode, yeah, there's no contest. The Origin Wheeljack figure is much bigger than this one. And once again, here is Origin Wheeljack sitting beside Origin, Jazz, and Bumblebee. So yeah, they're quite a trio of G1 Cybertronian alt mode Transformers figures and ever since Bumblebee was released back in 2021 during the Kingdom line, I knew that eventually we were going to someday get Origin figures of Jazz and Wheeljack. It took 3 years to finally complete this trio of Autobots, but I think the wait was worth it, especially for seeing all three of them stand beside each other, especially Wheeljack and Bumblebee, who were side by side in the G1 cartoon. Jazz appeared in a separate scene, but even though the amount of screen time that his G1 Cybertron alt mode was on was, I believe, about 3, maybe 4 seconds, it was enough screen time that Transformers fans and collectors everywhere wondered if we would ever get an action figure of Jazz transforming into his Cybertron alt mode, and we finally have one. Same thing for Wheeljack and Bumblebee. Despite whatever flaws they may have, I'm just really thrilled with how the figures turned out. And here is what, putting the shield back on, here is Origin Wheeljack next to Jazz and Bumblebee with the shield attached. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the fact that you get the shield added on here, especially considering that Wheeljack had it raised most of the time that he and Bumblebee were trying to outrun the Decepticons. And speaking of which, when Wheeljack and Bumblebee were trying to outrun the Decepticons, Bumblebee ended up suffering an injury where a part of his vehicle mode flew off, and so if you have the Origin Bumblebee action figure, the reason why Wheeljack has so much hollowness to him and why his alt mode is so tall is that you can kind of sort of mimic the G1 cartoon where Bumblebee slides up and can actually store inside of Wheeljack. To actually achieve it, like I said, you do have to fold up the two side panels for Bumblebee's alt mode, and unfortunately, to get Bumblebee to actually sit inside of Wheeljack, which is a very tight fit, you do have to detach the roof to get the back panel section opened up to get Bumblebee to slide in. So yeah, when Bumblebee's inside there, it is a very tight fit, but so I probably won't display Bumblebee and Wheeljack being stored inside Wheeljack for too long, just because it feels like Wheeljack's vehicle mode is straining, having that Bumblebee's alt mode compressed inside of it. So closing this back up, and like I said, if you decide you don't want to store Bumblebee inside Wheeljack, he does have another 5mm port, so if you want to, you could store his laser gun inside. Alright, so if you want Wheeljack to not have a laser gun stored on the roof of his vehicle mode, and you want him to have the flattened roof like he did in the G1 cartoon, then you can store his laser gun inside of him. And if you don't want to put Bumblebee in there, so reattaching the shield one last time. And get Bumblebee transformed back really quickly. So, out of all three of the Transformers Origin Autobots, Wheeljack he has definitely become my favorite, not only because I really like the design of his vehicle mode, but the inclusion of the gimmicks and the accessory pieces. It makes him the most, for lack of better grammar, the most entertaining of the three Origin figures. He's the one that has the most play value, since he has the most gimmicks incorporated into him. Now, and I know a lot of Transformers fans and collectors over the years have said that they actually prefer seeing gimmicks removed on Transformers action figures in favor of having better articulation in robot mode and having more posability. But overall, I'm just really thrilled to finally have an action figure of him here and bringing back Legacy Earth Mode Wheeljack one more time. So here they are. I'm just have all the figures we brought out here for a size comparison. So for the final proverbial question, do I recommend getting the Transformers Legacy United Voyager class Origin Wheeljack and adding him to your Transformers collection? I absolutely do. You cannot go wrong having this action figure of Wheeljack in your Transformers collection. And despite the nitpick with the robot mode chest, I just am really thrilled to finally have an action figure based off of Wheeljack's alt mode, Cybertron alt mode that he had in the first episode of Transformers Generation 1. This was the first ever vehicle mode to appear on film, so it's really thrilling to finally have an action figure of G1 Cybertron alt mode Wheeljack in my Transformers collection. So thank you guys all so much for watching. This has been the TF Fan Geek. This has been my review of Transformers Legacy United Origin Wheeljack. I highly recommend getting this figure, even though it was released at Target several months ago. I've still seen him going on most websites for fairly decent prices, so if you haven't gotten Origin Wheeljack yet, I highly recommend getting him. Origin Bumblebee, it's been announced he's being re-released at mass retail in Wave 5 of Legacy United to coincide with Origin Wheeljack's release and the interaction that the two figures have where you can actually have Bumblebee right inside of Wheeljack. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, you guys, please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.